give you
Oh,
a copy.
can you go start away? Thank you.
Committee, I'm going to call this meeting of the Standing Committee on Government Operations to order. Is everyone okay with foregoing a prayer? We don't need to broadcast yet, there, Vince. Sorry. If you started that. We review and adoption agenda, 2 public matters, Bill 66 and Bill 67, clause by clause review. Can I get someone to move the agenda? Thank you, Emily Cleveland. Declarations of conflicts and interests on an as and when basis, please. I will go invite the minister and staff into the room. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rylund Johnson. I am the MLA for Yellowknife North and the chair of the Standing Committee on Government Operations. Today we are holding a clause by clause on 2 bills, Bill 66, an act to amend the Property Assessment and Taxation Act, and Bill 67, an act to amend the Fire Prevention Act. We will do them in that order. I will begin by asking members of the committee to introduce themselves, beginning on my left.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Caitlin Cleveland, MLA Cam Lake.
Lisa Semler, MLA for Nuvik Twin Lakes.
Richard DeJeric, MLA for Trinity.
Frida Martels, MLA for Tabacha.
O'Reilly Frame Lake.
Thank you, members. Minister, with that, I will turn it over to you for any opening remarks you may have on Bill 66, an act to amend the Property Assessment Taxation Act.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, thank you once again for inviting me to speak to the committee about Bill 66, an act to amend the Property Assessment and Taxation Act. I would like to introduce officials with me today. They are Ms. Jennifer Young, Director of Corporate Affairs, Municipal and Community Affairs, Ms. Laurie Fife, Director of Community Governance and Director of Assessment, Municipal and Community Affairs, Mr. Jeff Ray, Municipal Special Advisor, and Ms. Christina Duffy, Director of Legislation, Department of Justice. Mr. Chair, based on the feedback provided by committee after the public hearing on the 23rd, the department is proposing an additional amendment to the bill. This proposed amendment will clarify that for council to approve a purchase under Clause 22, the approval must be made by council resolution and recorded in the minutes of the meeting, which it was given. This proposed amendment will ensure that council's decision will be made publicly. Mr. Chair, I look forward to committee's clause-by-clause review and answer any question that members may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Does committee have any questions for the sponsor of the bill? Hearing none, does committee agree to proceed to a clause-by-clause review of Bill 66, an act to amend the Property Assessment Taxation Act? Committee agrees to conduct a clause-by-clause review of Bill 66, an act to amend the Property Assessment Taxation Act. I will call the bill in set clauses of sections of 5, except where I know there is a motion to be moved. So beginning with clause 1 to 5, does committee agree? Agreed. Clause 6 to 10, does committee agree? Agreed. Clause 11 to 15, does committee agree? Agreed. Clauses 16 to 17, does committee agree? Agreed. Clause 18, MLA Cleveland.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, move that Bill 66 be amended by deleting clause 18 and adding the following clause. 19.1, the following is added after subsection 66 brackets 1, decision within 3 months. 1.1, the tribunal shall make a decision within 3 months after the day on which the notice of appeal is received by the registrar of the tribunal.
Thank you, MLA Cleveland. The motion is in the order. The motion is in order. To the motion. Question has been called. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Clause. One moment. Does the minister? Does the minister concur?
Oh. I said, oh. Yes, I concur.
Thank you. Motion is carried and concurred with. Clause 19 to 21. Does committee agree?
Agreed.
Thank you. Clause 22. MLA Cleveland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I move that clause 22 of Bill 66 be amended by adding the following after proposed subclause 97.81 brackets 1, approval to be public. 1.1, for greater certainty, if a council approves a purchase under subsection 1, the approval must be A, made by resolution, and B, recorded in the minutes of the meeting at which the approval was made.
Thank you, MLA Cleveland. The motion is in order. To the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All those in favor? Motion carried. Does the minister concur?
Yes, I do.
Your motion is carried and concurred with. Committee. Now turning to clause 23. Does committee agree? Clause 24. MLA Cleveland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I move that Bill 66 be amended by adding the following after clause 24. 24.1, section 112 is repealed and the following is substituted. 112 brackets 1, the minister in respect of parts 1, 2, and 4, and the Minister of Finance in respect of Part 3 may, by order, alter the dates or periods of time fixed by this Act for the doing of anything whether or not the date or time has passed or expired, where the thing cannot be done or has not been done within the time or by the fixed date. 2, an order made under subsection 1 must within 5 days after the day on which the order is made be published, A, on the website of the Department of Municipal and Community Affairs in the case of an order made by the minister, or B, on the website of the Department of Finance in the case of an order made by the Minister of Finance. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Just to clarify for the record, MLA Cleveland in 112 sub 1 said within the time or by the fixed date, but the motion is date fixed. I don't know if anyone else heard that. Just want to make sure the record. Thank you. The motion is in order. To the motion. MLA O'Reilly?
Yeah, thanks. For anybody who's watching, the reason why this amendment is being made is, I guess there's the ability for ministers to vary the timelines, but there was no requirement in the bill for the public to actually be notified or for the public to actually find out what was in the order. So this is going to require the orders to be actually posted to the departmental website, so there's the ability for the public to find out about the orders. And this is consistent with the open government policy that GNWT and Cabinet has actually put in place. So I think it's a good amendment. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, MLA O'Reilly. To the motion? Question has been called. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Minister, does the minister concur?
Yes.
Thank you. To clause 24 as amended, does committee agree?
Agreed.
To clauses 25 through 28, does committee agree?
Agreed.
Does the committee agree that Bill 66, an act to amend the Property Assessment and Taxation Act as amended, is now ready for consideration in the Committee of the Whole? MLA Cleveland?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I move that Bill 66, an act to amend the Property Assessment and Taxation Act as amended, be reported to the Assembly as ready for consideration in Committee of the Whole as amended. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, MLA Cleveland. Motion is in order. To the motion?
Question.
Question has been called. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carried. Bill 66, an act to amend the Property Assessment and Taxation Act as amended, will be reported to the Assembly as ready for consideration in the Committee of the Whole. Minister Thompson, I would just like to thank you and your staff. I know there was quite a lot of work in the background, back and forth on these motions, and we greatly appreciate it whenever, staff and the department and the minister is willing to work with committee. We do believe that this is an all-around better bill because of this review. Thank you, Minister. This concludes the public portion of Bill 66. I'm going to take a brief recess between the bills just to make sure I have the paperwork ready to go for the next one. You can end the broadcast for a couple. Good afternoon. I will call this meeting of the Fire Prevention Act, clause by clause, Bill 67, review back to order. Minister, I will begin by asking you for any opening remarks on Bill 67 Act to amend the Fire Prevention Act.
Mr. Chair, again, thank you for inviting me to speak to committee about Bill 66 or 67, an act to amend the Fire Prevention Act. The officials with me today are Ms. Jennifer Young, Director of Corporate Affairs, Municipal and Community Affairs, Mr. Justin Hazenberg, Director of Public Safety, Municipal and Community Affairs, Mr. Jeff Ray, Minister Special Advisor, and Mr. Ian Rennie, Legislative Council, Department of Justice. Mr. Chair, based on feedback provided by committee after the public hearing on January 12th, the department worked with the Legislative Assembly's law clerk and the Department of Justice on three additional amendments to the bill. The first motion will amend Clause 14. This amendment will set a 30-day timeline after a hearing for a plan review appeal board to affirm, modify, or revoke an order made by the fire marshal under Section 5.1. The second motion will amend Clause 6 to restrict members of the public servant from sitting on the board. The third motion will amend Clause 6 to ensure that the minister will make reasonable efforts to appoint members to the board who are representative of the industry and communities of the Northwest Territories. Mr. Chair, I look forward to committee's clause-by-clause review and answer any questions that members may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister, and thank you to all your staff on the work on this bill. Are there any questions for the Minister? Hearing none, does committee agree to proceed to a clause-by-clause review of Bill 67, an act to amend the Fire Prevention Act? Committee, where possible, I will call the clauses in groups, except for those where I know there is a motion to be moved. Please turn to page 1 of the bill. Clauses 1 to 5. Does committee agree? Agree. Clause 6. Chair recognizes MLA Semler.
So Bill 67 be amended by adding the following after proposed subclause. 5.2 brackets 2. Brackets 2.1, the minister shall make reasonable efforts to appoint members who are representative of the industries and communities of the Northwest Territories.
Thank you, MLA Semler. The motion is in order. To the motion. Question has been called. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion is carried. Does committee agree to... does the minister concur?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. The motion is carried and concurred with by the minister. MLA Semler?
I move that clause 6 of Bill 67 be amended by adding the following before proposed subclause 5.2 brackets 3 brackets 2.2. The minister shall not appoint a member of the public service to the board.
Thank you. The motion is in order. To the motion. MLA Semler?
To it, I think one of the reasons that we put this is that we want to make sure that we have the representative of the community, of the territory, of businesses, of people, the appropriate people, you know, with the backgrounds. And one of the things that this government has struggled with was another board, which is the Power Corp board, and I mean I could speak to it here, is that it's made up of deputy ministers, and we struggle to figure out how the balance is between making decisions that best for, as a deputy minister when they're sitting on these boards, as a member of this board. So we do not want to have that. The other reason, I think one of the big reasons that I really struggled with is when you're sitting as a public servant on this board, and if you end up representative with a full board of public servants, and we're dealing with big projects, like we have had problems in the Northwest Territories on some of the projects that we are putting out there, that how do we, I guess, how we as public servant, or as a public servant, remove themselves from a board when they're all public servants if they have to make decisions on government projects. So I think this is one of the things that we have decided, and that's why we make this motion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, MLA Semler. To the motion? Question has been called. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion is carried. Does the minister concur?
Yes.
Thank you, Minister. Committee to Clause 6 as amended. Does committee agree?
Agree.
Clauses 7 to 10. Does committee agree? Clauses 11 to 14. Does committee agree? Vote. And 13, does committee agree?
Agree.
Clause 14, MLA Semler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that Clause 14, Bill 67 be amended by deleting proposed subclause 14.1 brackets 3 and substituting the following brackets 3, where the board receives an appeal under subsection brackets 1, the board shall brackets A, without delay, hold a hearing with appellant and fire marshal or their agents present. Brackets B, within 30 days after the hearing held under paragraph brackets A, affirm, modify, or revoke the order, and brackets C, without delay, cause a copy of the decision to be served on the appellant.
Thank you, MLA Semler. The motion is in order. To the motion. Thank you.
Reasons. I think what the reason that we had this was that there was no, my understanding is when we were discussing this, that there was no timeline for when this had to be brought forward, or so to be putting a timeline in the act would hold everybody account to getting this done. Thank you.
Thank you, MLA Semler. The motion is in order. To the motion.
Question?
Question has been called. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion is carried. Does the minister concur?
Yes.
Thank you. To clause 14 as amended, does committee agree? Committee, we will now return to the bill number entitled Bill 67, an act to amend the Fire Prevention Act. Does the committee agree?
Agree.
Does committee agree that an act to amend the Fire Prevention Act as amended is now ready for consideration in committee of the whole?
Mr. Speaker, there's a few clauses up neglected.
Oh,
So like that.
Oh.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Clause
Sorry.
15 to 21.
And 20. Thank you. One moment. Sorry. Can I have? Okay. To clauses 15 to 21. Does committee agree? Thank you. Does committee agree that Bill 67, an act to amend the Fire Prevention Act as amended, is now ready for consideration in committee of the whole? Thank you. MLA Semler.
Move that Bill 67, an act to amend the Fire Prevention Act as amended, be reported to the Assembly as ready for consideration in committee of the whole.
Motion is in order. To the motion. Question has been called. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion is carried. Bill 67, an act to amend the Fire Prevention Act as amended, will be reported to the Assembly as ready for consideration in committee of the whole. Once again, Minister Thompson, we would just like to thank you and all your staff for both getting these bills done and working with committee on these amendments. Thank you very much. This now concludes our public hearing for tonight.